Well, welcome to Old Classic Car and this quick look at some of the other vehicles that were at this year's NEC Classic Car Show. And we begin with ROA 127. This is a Morrison Electricar milk float from January of 1955. And that is followed by a stunning Borgwards Isabella estate, or station wagon. This one was registered in October of 1960. If you've not already seen the other videos I've done on Austins, Morrises and Fords, please check out those videos as well. And next up we've got a yellow GTM. This reminds me of a car that my uncle had back in the 70s and early 1980s. His was a yellow Cox GTM. And over to the Ford Model A Club stand, and we've got another photograph of a fantastic three-tone Model A coupe, or coupe. Very smart indeed. This one featured in the Fords at the NEC video recently, and two photos now of an absolutely wonderful old FSO. This is from 1972, and it's an FSO Warszawa 223. Apologies for my pronunciation, but one of the beauties of the NEC Classic Show is the appearance of some of these real rarities that you're just not going to see anywhere else, and it was great to see this old FSO. Next up, another curious white car. I had to look this one up. This is a Turner GT8, first built in 1963 apparently, but this one's registered a little bit later, about 1969. And to veteran times, we've got AX10. This is a Daimler from 1900. Wandering around one of the NEC halls, I spotted this stunning Armstrong Siddeley. It began life as a car, and now it's a van, based on the 18 horsepower saloon, converted at some point in its life, as so many cars were. And here's a slightly later car, but equally rare, if not rarer, an A-Reg Fiat Argenta. There's only a handful of these left in the country, as far as I know. And no, this isn't an Austin Allegro. This is a Leyland Innocenti Regents 1300 from May 1975. The Innocenti Italian-built version of the Austin Allegro. And to the Singer Owners Club stand, we've got this wonderful Singer 9 Coupe from October of 1936. Slightly later, we've got a rare, super rare, in fact, Volvo 780 Coupe. Probably the only one of these I've ever seen in the metal. And again, just one of those kind of rarities that pops up at the NEC. Talking of rare, we've got a BRM V16 here. I'm not sure if this is one of the newly built recreated cars or an original. Perhaps you could let me know in the comments. A side view of another stunning little estate car. We've had the Borgwards, and now we've got a DKW. I'm not sure which I prefer, but I'd be quite happy with either. It's vintage years now, and we've got a wonderful maroon Humber 818 from 1925, a little two-seat tourer. Beautiful little car. It was good to see a reasonable number of pre-war cars at the NEC this year. And a very unusual mini-based camper van here. I've not seen this one before, from the early 1970s, based on a Mini Clubman. And this is quite famous on YouTube if you frequent some of the motoring channels. This is a hubnut Citroen GSA from 1985. Another photo, this time a rear three-quarter view of the Austin A70 Hereford drop-head coupe that featured in the NEC Austins video a few days ago. And over to the Wolseley stand, we've got AWB 981. This stunning little Wolseley was put on the road in November of 1934. Another great Skoda. This is a Skoda 1968. This is a 1000 MBX. Great little rear engine four-seat saloon there, four-door saloon. This A30 appeared in the Austins at the NEC video, but I included it again because it was one of the highlights of the show for me, this little ice cream van. Not a car that's ever really been very common in this country. This is the Opel GT, this particular example from 1969 or early 1970. The race-prepared Dolomite Sprint. And over on the Lancia stand there's a couple of gems. There's an Aurelia and the Lambda. I don't think that registration is correct, or at least it doesn't show up on the DVLA system, but it's definitely a vintage Lambda. And a quick overview of the Gilburn Club stand with an Invader in the foreground. That's a Mark III from 1973. Around 212 of these were built in all. to the sales area, and we've got this stunning Bristol. This is a Bristol 404 from 1954, registration BUG8. And elsewhere at the NEC, we've got the Simca stand, two great cars, and here we've got a silver Simca Arondes. This takes me back to one of the first cars I ever pieced back together, a Triumph Spitfire Mark III, 1296cc 4-cylinder engine on display there. And this is a real gem amongst some matchless motorcycles, is this little matchless car. This is a Model K Tourer from 1924. First matchless car I've ever seen. Over on the Simca stand again, we've got a slightly earlier Arondes. This was not only the Autocar road test car, but this was the Earl's Court Motor Show car in 1951. And this was definitely my top handful of cars at the entire show. This is a Ginetta G10 with a 4.7 litre V8 engine. I mean, that must really shift. And also a sporty little number here, we've got 7832PJ. That's a 1962 Elva Courier Mark III coupe. Was used in various historic race meetings. And this was a bit of a pin-up car for me in the 1970s, a 3-litre CSL BMW. And here's an example of a car that I owned a few years ago, a little standard companion, based on the Standard 10, the estate car version, 4 doors, quite a rare survivor now. A good old Vauxhall Victor, I think this is the FD Victor. Carrying on around the NEC, we've got a side view here of quite a smart Bedford Dormobile, a Bedford CA camper van, the lift up roof, etc. Quite smart. The Citroen Amy 6 from 1966. There's a large contingent of French cars at this year's show. You can see a few of them in the background there. Lovely little vintage offering here from Jowett. This is a Jowett Short 2 of the 1920s. Great little car that is as well. Pratt's fuel can on the running board. Another rarity, a Opel Commodore GSE coupe. First one of those I've ever seen. Please let me know your favourites out of this selection. UXS 335, that's a Triumph Dolomite from 1935. Very, very eye-catching car indeed. And staying with Triumph, we've got the Triumph Fury. This was a proposal for replacing the TR range in the 1960s, monocoque construction, but sadly it was not taken up. This intriguing car is an FSO 125P that an enterprising garage converted into a coupe, a pillarless coupe, not that long ago. Had to cut the roof down, the windscreen down, etc. A new 767, this is a Ginetta G12. Great looking little car that is. A little bit of American pie here. We've got a Corvette C1. These were built from 1953 to 1962. We're halfway through now, and this is an interior view of the Austin A90 Atlantic drophead that featured in the Austins at the NEC video that I put up a few days ago. Please check that out if you haven't seen it already. And this is a real rarity. We've got a Borgward Hansa Pullman. This is a limousine built in 1957. In all, only 656 of these were built, and only a handful survive now. This was a real rarity. This is the only factory-built Triumph Vitesse coupe. You can see it's got the ribbed roof of the later Herald coupes. The early Heralds had the smooth roof. We've got an E-Series Cresta here, FVV 141. Beautiful old Vauxhall that is, from the 1950s. And the stunning Riley. This will make Dad weep if he sees this, because he had one of these, a Riley Roadster, a 2.5 litre car. And from 1967 we got this fairly early Renault 4. I remember these back in the day, but I haven't seen one for eons. A little Chrysler Alpine T registration car here. They were a little bit on the noisy side, as I remember, but I haven't seen one for years. And here's another pin-up car of mine, this more from the early 1980s, early to mid-80s. This is a SAAB 900 Turbo 16S. This was a car I lusted after when I was a youth. somewhat earlier is EAN 905, and that is a Triumph Renown TDB from September 1951. I had to take a photo of this only because, again, it's such a rare survivor, a Hillman Avenger estate with all the period gubbins in the back, of which I very much approve, and I've got a few of those bits and bobs myself. Staying with classic estates from the Roots Group empire, we've got a Hillman Super Minx estate here on mini light replica wheels. A great car that is. And surely one of the most handsome cars at this year's show was 979XVB. This is an Alvis TC108G Graber coupe special from 1958. And over to the Wolseley stand, we got this Wolseley 2160 County. This was a 6-cylinder car built from 1932 to 1936. Bit of Blackpool plastic here, we've got a lovely little TVR 3000M. There were a few commercial vehicles at the NEC Classic Car Show this year, including this lovely Bedford O-Type JCJ524. This oddity was spotted in the far corner of one of the halls, one of the newest cars in this selection, but a V90 Volvo ambulance, coach-built ambulance. And over to the Ford Side Valve Club stand, we've got this 100E Squire, the estate's car version of the Ford 100E GFO 229, that's from 1959. And somewhat slightly higher up market, we've got this Lagonda V8, this was a 4-door saloon from 1974. A bit of a vintage special here, BF6301, it's registered as the Cirrus Black. January 1927, and has a 5-litre engine almost. I do like some of these Porsches before they went water cooled. This is a 930 Turbo LE. Still plenty of cars to go. We've got a rear 3/4 view now of the Lynx Eventer, which was the estate car station wagon conversion of the Jaguar XJS. This dinky little machine, this is a Frisky Sport from 1959, with a 325cc engine. Another small engine car here, we've got a Honda S600 Coupe. Here we seem to have a road-going Cooper Bristol. Cooper Bristols were raced in Formula 2 back in the early 1950s, and this looks like it's been prepared for road use. Ghostbusters in town, judging by this old Cadillac. And one of the shiniest cars at the show this year was this 1956 GAZ M20. I seem to remember the asking price was somewhere north of 70,000. One of the oldest was this Stanley Steamer. Again, very, very shiny. You must get through some Brasso with that particular car. Just a few more cars to go. A stunning Alfa Romeo AYH 701, that's an Alfa Romeo 6C 1750. Back to mini cars, we've got a 1955 Bond mini car Mark C OCG7. There's a good contingent of micro cars and bubble cars at this year's show, which was great to see. And a Mark 10 Jaguar convertible. Unlike many Jaguar conversions, this one actually looked quite nice. Many convertible versions of Jaguar saloons don't really work, but that did look the part. Next up in the auction area, we've got this Triumph GT6 Mark II. A little vintage gem here, we've got a Singer 10. This car dates from 1919. Lovely, lovely little car, I think it's a 2-seater. This is one of those cars which I'm so glad that people are taking on these cars, but I'm equally glad that I don't own it myself and have to keep it running. This is an Aston Martin Lagonda of the late 1970s, early 1980s. And a fantastic Comma Cobb van. This was like basically the van version of the Hillman Husky. And a stunning Harrington Le Mans Sunbeam there. A fixed roof and a little lift-up tailgate. And that Harrington Le Mans completes this particular section of NEC gems that I spotted this year. This is the final video that I'll do looking at the NEC cars from the 2021 show. Please check out some of the other videos that I've done on Austins and the Fords, Morrises and MGs, and more videos along very, very soon. Thanks for now.